She captured the single most important photograph in biology, the one that unlocked the secret of life. But the men who saw it stole her data, won the Nobel Prize for it, and nearly erased her from history. This is the story of science's greatest intellectual heist. Imagine solving the biggest mystery in human history, only to have someone else steal the credit and become famous for your work. That's not a hypothetical scenario. That is the true story of Rosalind Franklin, the brilliant scientist whose discovery was the key to understanding DNA. In the early 1950s, the biggest race in science was to discover the structure of DNA. Scientists knew it was the molecule of life, but nobody knew what it looked like. At King's College London, Rosalind Franklin, a master of X-ray crystallography, was getting closer than anyone. She was meticulous, brilliant, and she was determined to solve it based on evidence, not just guesswork. Using a machine she had expertly refined, she spent hours upon hours shooting incredibly fine beams of X-rays at tiny DNA fibers. The result of her painstaking work was a collection of images. One of them, which she took in 1952, was different. It was labeled simply Photograph 51. If you believe that creators should always get credit for their work, hit that like button right now, because what happens next is a masterclass in betrayal. Photograph 51 was the jackpot. To a trained eye, it was unmistakable proof that DNA was a helix, a tightly wound spiral. It also revealed crucial dimensions of the molecule. Franklin had captured the secret of life on film. She was analyzing her data, preparing to publish her findings, but there was tension in her lab. Her colleague Maurice Wilkins was also working on DNA, and their relationship was strained. In a move that would change the course of science history, Wilkins took photograph 51 from Franklin's lab, without her permission or her knowledge, and showed it to a rival scientist from another university, a young American named James Watson. The moment Watson saw the photograph, his jaw dropped. He didn't need to be a world-class chemist to understand what he was seeing. All his and his partner Francis Crick's theories finally clicked into place. The image confirmed their ideas and gave them the exact measurements they needed. He had seen the key to the puzzle, but the woman who created that key had no idea it had been shown to her competition. The race to publish was now on, but only one side knew they were in a race. Watson and Crick now had the final piece of evidence they needed, taken without consent from Rosalind Franklin's lab. They knew they were about to make history. To find out how they used this stolen data to claim the Nobel Prize and write her out of the story, you need to watch. The link is in the description and the top comment. Click it now to see the shocking conclusion. They had seen the photograph. They had the stolen data. With Rosalind Franklin completely in the dark, James Watson and Francis Crick rushed back to their lab. Using the precise measurements from Rosalind Franklin's photograph 51, Watson and Crick raced to publish the double helix model before she could. In 1953, they published their discovery in Nature, deliberately framing Franklin's own paper in the same issue as mere supporting data. This act of scientific deception made her a footnote in her own discovery. Tragically, Franklin died of cancer in 1958, never knowing the full truth. 4 years later, Watson, Crick, and Wilkins won the Nobel Prize, failing to properly acknowledge her essential contribution. To justify the theft, Watson later unfairly portrayed her in his book. However, history now recognizes Franklin as the true discoverer, whose work was the critical evidence for the model. Her story is a powerful reminder that history is often written by the victors, and her legacy as a forgotten genius deserves to be shared.